Hello, it's Future Ashton here. This episode of Splintering Will was an experiment. We did it from we were all in the same space in Melody's lounge room. We thought we would try streaming it from a phone. Turns out the internet there was pretty average, so we did actually do a full episode, but the VODs are pretty choppy, and they're kind of hard to actually tell what's going on, which is unfortunate because it was a really good episode. So rather than ejecting it from the canon, what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd get Luke to give us a synopsis of what happened, the major plot points, so that you can grok what is going on in the continuity if you're watching through the VODs. So I will get Luke to do that. Cinema.
Hey there, everyone. So, let me tell you in brief the tale of how we fucked with the magic tree. As any good Splintering Wheel session, we begun by gathering rumors. We learned that the Nodcap's garden around the tree where they lived had become consumed by the overgrowth and choked with thorns. We also learned about an ogre who walked past town carrying a goat, not a dead goat, but an alive goat, and a wheelbarrow. We still do not know what that was about. We also talked about a bunch of the extant rumors. Everyone was very excited about the idea of the weird river that had shifted and the massive boneyard battlefield that was there. And one of our player characters, played by Melody, was a paladin who was a cleric of, well, not a cleric, but like a devotee of Avio and a map maker and a pathfinder, and who was very concerned and interested in the idea of one of these big, seemingly reliable landmarks like a river having shifted. So we decided we were going to go there, and since it was on the way, we would stop by the Nodcap tree and see what the fuck was up. So we set off. Things were fairly good. The Nodcap tree is pretty close to town. We made it there, no problems. There were a lot of thorns, just like the rumor said. So my character, Little Lonely Badger, who is very big and kind of a little bit mournful and can talk to spirits, talked to the spirit of the curse, and we found out a little bit about what was going on and why Henri had laid that curse and why the ghost gum tree was bad. And then also we talked with some Nodcaps and tried to figure out what was going on there, because our great concern was that the Nodcaps were kidnapping children and sacrificing them to the tree, and that felt like a bad thing that shouldn't be happening. And the Nodcaps couldn't really commit to not doing that anymore because they didn't seem to understand object permanence. And so we killed the Nodcap we were talking to, who it later turned out was the Nodcap leader. Meanwhile, our paladin friend hacked away through the briars and the brambles and cleared a way through to the tree. And as we approached it, a very strange thing happened, where as we approached, it grew not smaller but larger, because we were shrinking down to Nodcap size. Ash even had a mechanical formula to derive our height. And so, our paladin friend resisted, but meanwhile, the rogue of our party, whose Nissa, I think was her name, I do not quite remember, Nissa and Little Lonely Badger arrived on Nodcap scale, which meant Little Lonely Badger, who is normally 9 feet tall, was still 18 inches high. And there, we learned many strange and interesting things. Nissa went inside the tree and down into the cavern in its roots, where she found some guards with like little tiny spears made from shavings off silver and gold coins, and where there was a door, and we never actually learned what was past the door. And our paladin friend stuck her arm through the knothole in the tree, so it, like, blocked most of the whole thing, and pinned a tiny little nodcap there. And there was a great larder inside the tree that was filled with things that, to Nissa and Little Only Badger, looked like, you know, gems and, like, delicious cake, but in reality were, like, a bit of a dead cockroach, and, like, a strange stick that's very small. And so all of that happened, and meanwhile, Little Only Badger outside was just digging in the dirt, checking things out, figuring out if children were being sacrificed, and figuring out what the fuck was up with this magic tree. And in the end, what we found out was that the magic for this tree was not like one great spell, but it was the effects of lots of tiny, tiny little glamours on individual objects, which was why the dead cockroaches looked like cakes. And the collective presence of all of these tiny glamours had woven into one great enchantment that lured children and also grown-ass people to this tree. And so, you know, the tree was dead but was doing just fine. It was, you know, birds could live there if there weren't 1,000,010 nodcaps. It was serving its function in the ecosystem. The brambles were doing a very good job growing. Little Only Badger approved. And so we called out to the massive colony of nodcaps that lived in this tree, who were scattered and in need of direction because their leader was dead and they didn't know what to do. And we told them everyone should grab as many little treasure things as they could follow and go off in different directions. And lo and behold, because nodcaps are not the brightest of creatures, they did. And so for like 25 minutes, we just sat there as this endless stream of nodcaps dismantled the treasure of this tree and broke the glamour on it. And then all was peaceful, and all was done. And Little Only Badger accelerated the decay of the curse that had made these brambles, because the curse was not needed anymore, though the brambles were lovely and could stay. And Nissa and the paladin shared a lovely moment, because Nissa the fighter was a blacksmith who had left her village to come to Beta and had lost it in the overgrowth. And so the map-making, the path-finding paladin asked Nissa some questions about her home and where it was, and drew her the beginnings of a map as we worked out some kind of a plan to find it. And then we decided that that had been enough adventure for one day, and that we should return to town and tell everyone, and we could come back and go after the weird boneyard and the strange river that walked around some other time.